For any writer that you study in literature, the first thing you see on board is the name of the writer, which is, of course, the best thing that you can start working on a writer. But after the name of the writer, the next important thing that you must see in a writer is the birth dates and the death dates. Why is this important? I'll tell you why. The birth of John Milton is 1608 and his death is 1674. This will take the whole of discussion for one day or two. And this will also explain why is it important that you know the birth and death dates of a writer. With the birth and death dates of a writer, you place the writer in history. This helps you in placing the writer in history. So, with the help of these dates, you place him in a particular political background. The political background, therefore, that you see of John Milton covers many different phases. Say when it begins, Queen Elizabeth rules till 1603, and this is when Tudor regime comes to an end. After that, after Tudor regime comes to an end, the next dynasty of rulers who come to the throne are called the Stuarts, the Stuart regime. The Stuart regime begins with the rule of James I. It's called the Stuart regime because James I of England, James I of England is basically James VI of Scotland. James I of England is basically James VI of Scotland. James VI of Scotland is James VI because before him there have been five James who have already ruled Scotland. And the first of these, James I, was the famous writer who is known as James Stewart. James Stewart. The same James Stewart became Stuart regime. This was the difference in pronunciation in Scotland and England, that Stewart was pronounced as Stuart in England. Therefore, this is referred to as the Stuart regime. So, why did we require somebody from Scotland to come and rule England? Because Queen Elizabeth left no heir. Since she left no heir, there was to be found who next comes in lineage. James I was the son of one Mary, and Mary was uh, one of the daughters who was the ruler in Tudor regime. This regime is called Tudor regime. Tudor regime was there before Stuart regime. Tudor regime begins with Henry VII ruling, followed by Henry VIII, then their son, then one of them is Mary too, who then one of them is Queen Elizabeth. All these rulers will not be dealt with in this class because that would be done with when we are doing some writer who is writing in that phase. Because political background influences any write up a lot to a very large extent. To make it easy for my students to understand, I give examples from the contemporary politics. The kind of literature that you see being produced in India right now will be the right wing politics, those who are favoring the politics of the time. And the publications that are allowed to be published in this time will only be the one that favors the government. That which is not favoring the government will not be allowed to be published in India. One such text came in recently. This was Azadi by
Arundhati Roy.
Arundhati Roy. How what this would not be allowed to be published in India because she is misconstruing the word azadi in a different manner that
Zainab Khalid to everyone, ma'am, I can't hear you.